decided to do a series of guitar tuition videos, starting with the absolute basics for fretting hand and picking hand for beginners. I'm hoping also that this educational series will be a good reference and a motivational tool for my students in between lesson times, and also for anybody else out there looking to get their skill set moving forward and improving and just looking for information. So let's make a start. One of the first issues that most beginners continually seem to slow their progress is having a nice clean tone without the buzzers and the dead notes when they're fretting a note. So that's easily solved with just a nice basic technique. What I find a lot of my students and a lot of beginners are doing when they fret the note is it's their hand position and how they fret the note with their fingers and the shape of their hand. So in saying that, what I seem to see a lot of is people with the death grip or the monkey grip, where the wrist isn't curved. What they have is a straight wrist and they're clinging onto the guitar and their thumb's at the top, or the thumb has gone sideways on them, and they've got no hope of getting to the notes on the higher string because all the stretch in their hand is gone. So a really simple way to solve that problem is, let's get the thumb down and address the back of the fretboard, so we've got a nice dropped hand. So with that, we now have a curve in the wrist. It's a little bit like you're holding an egg, a ball, so that you've got it and the weight is in your hand, so you've got that nice curve, not that straight locked out position where your fingers are trying to do all the work. You actually want your wrist and that mechanism of your elbow, your arm, your whole arm to help out with fretting those notes. But more importantly, it's the shape of your hand. So that will facilitate you putting just your fingertips on the string and not flat or your thumb crimped over and you're desperately trying to get some part of your finger on the string. So you can see that most students, especially when they're getting to the 6th string here, the low E string at the top of your guitar, when they go to fret a note, their fingers are fairly straight, like that. What we're looking for is an arch or a curve in the fingers, so that when you're placing the finger down on the string behind the fret, it is just the tip and you're clearing the string below that way. Because if your finger's straight, the chances are you're going to hit the string below and mute it out, and that's not what you want. So you're using your thumb to support your finger at the back of the neck, and the finger is then going to put pressure on the string behind the fret, a little bit like the stiletto theory. If you're using the tip of your finger, you have a lot of pressure in that small area. You're using the joints and the tendons of the finger to provide the strength to fret that note and press the string in. You're not trying to use your bicep or any other major part or muscle of your arm. That's just not going to happen. You see some people, they actually get the guitar and it's like they got it in a headlock and their biceps are bulging and their shoulders are up around their ears trying to get that note, and it's just never going to happen. In fact, it's self-defeating. So you want that nice curl. So the next thing is, when you go to fret the note, the whole idea of having the fret on the guitar is so that you can bend the string over that piece of metal and shorten it. So if you put your finger just behind the fret, that will achieve that purpose. If you put your finger back too far, you'll get this nice buzzing sound and dead sound. If you bring it up to the fret, you'll get a more musical and clean note. If you put it on the fret, you're not really shortening the string, so you get a more dead note. So behind the fret, and you trying not to let your hand collapse back in that nice relaxed state. You want to actually spread it forward like this. So you're trying not to let the hand relax, because the muscles under tension will naturally want to just fall away and relax. You're trying to keep that nice spread of the fingers out. Now when you first start, this is going to create a lot of muscle tension. Your hand will get tired fairly quickly. Like any muscle, persevere. Don't push it past its point where it's just totally had it. Just give it a rest and come back and go again. You'll build the muscles up, and it won't take long before you can actually start to get that hand stretched out and keep it in that shape where it's prepared and ready to play, rather than back and you have to produce it to play your notes. You want it there to go, not away. So in putting that into practice, a nice little chromatic scale, chromatic meaning every note, every fret, is a nice way to actually look at that technique and develop it. So in numbering the fingers, index 1, middle 2, ring finger 3, little finger 4, and matching them up to the 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th fret of the guitar, you're going to put your first finger at the 1st fret the note and play it. We're then going to put 2nd finger at the 2nd fret and play it, and so forth down the fretboard until we get to the 4th finger, 4th fret, and then continue on to the 5th string, 4th string, etc. until you can go all the way down the strings. And once you've managed to do that ascending, the next trick of course is to back it up and descend. Okay. So what we're about there is producing good practice habits that will take you forward in your technique, that you can put into place, and you can actually then build on those from there with some more advanced techniques. Okay? So the next issue that a lot of students bring to me is holding the pick and getting nice clean notes when they're striking the strings with it. So I prefer, when I hold the pick, to hold it with thumb on top, finger underneath, just thumb and finger. You'll see some people hold it 2 fingers. You'll see some people hold it up the end. I don't like that. There's far too much leverage on the pick and it wobbles around so much. Much harder to control. You don't really feel like you've got control of the pick. So I tend to thumb behind, finger on top, and it's almost an extension of my index finger there, and address the strings that way. The next thing is, when you go to strike the string, don't have your pick straight 90 degrees to the string. Angle it up a little bit so the tip of the pick, this part here, is actually facing towards you. And the next thing you want to do is, if you can, with practice, get a little bit of angle on that pick so that it's actually going to slide down the strings for you. So for all you students out there starting with fingerstyle, the first thing is, of course, very important, nails and nail maintenance. I'm going to do a separate video on that for you so you can have a look at that, but it's very important. The same as with your left hand, your fretting hand, you must cut your nails. There's no way that you're going to fret a nice clean note with long nails. Whereas on the left hand, if you're playing fingerstyle, I'm a fan of nails. I don't particularly like the slide on picks, so the shape of your nails and nail care is important. As I said, I'll address that in another video. So what most beginners tend to do is play everything with their thumb, and of course what that leaves is no development of the fingers. So for all you guys out there doing everything with your thumb, start to use your fingers. Now, 2 types of stroke. You'll see a lot of young people call them, oh, I play like a bass player, which is a rest stroke. The other type of stroke is a free stroke, where you're using more the tip of the finger to glide across the string rather than the flat of the finger striking the string and coming to the rest on the one above. So that particular stroke is a good way to start, but also both of them need to be practiced. The free stroke, again, you're not trying to put too much of your finger buried down in the string, and curl under and pull out to give that nasty little sound. What you're trying to do is, just like you pick, glide across the string. And a nice way to do that is to pre-curl your fingers. Don't have your fingers straight. Right? Pre-curl them, address the string with your finger. Even if you put your thumb on the top string to rest your hand and support it to begin with, bring your fingers down and just one string. Get that going. You can also then just simply walk your fingers down the strings. Index, middle, index, middle, index, middle, so forth down the strings, just to start to get some alternation and some independence going. Watch when you swap strings that you keep your independence and you keep your alternation going. So a brief final word to send you on your way to go away and practice some of these little techniques. Well, brief for me. Keep your practice sessions short, 10 minutes, but keep them often. Leave your guitar out where you can access it on a stand, even a hook on a wall, like you can see the guitars behind me, and you can pick it up, do a small little mini practice session, hang it back up, and then move on. So the trick with this particular instrument, as in with most, but especially this one, the learning curve involved in a stringed instrument, it can be frustrating. So the more you pick it up, the more you play it, the better you will get. If you set yourself up and set your goals for 1 hour a week and that's all you're going to do, that is unrealistic. You're probably not going to get that goal, and in any fact, 1 hour a week is probably going to be filled with 5 minutes technique and 55 minutes doodling. So what you're trying to do here is set yourself up with some good practice habits as well and some good technique foundation. So short practices often, and do the hard yards, get the right technique in there, don't fall back to whatever the easiest way is. So many people go back to the easiest way rather than the correct way.